Trade shows and exhibitions are back, with the biggest one yet in Singapore since COVID-19 measures were relaxed.
What I'm trying to do is to ease up a little bit, make sure things stabilize, ease up a bit more, make sure things stabilize again, and ease up a little bit more.
Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong on Singapore's strategy of relaxing measures in a careful, calibrated way. And Colin Schooling, the father of Olympic champion Joseph Schooling, has died at the age of 73. Good evening, you're watching The Big Story. I'm Haryanto Dimana. You can subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss a single episode. And a big step forward for Singapore's recovery. Today marks the start of Restaurant Asia 2021, the largest MICE event held here to date since COVID-19 curbs were relaxed. The three-day F&B Symposium and Trade Show is slated to draw 1,000 people a day. Restaurant Asia 2021, returning after an almost 2 years hiatus, will see 113 exhibitors and brands from 12 countries showcasing machinery, equipment and ingredients. This event joins two others this week, the Milken Institute Asia Summit and Bloomberg New Economy Forum, marking a return of large business gatherings in Singapore. Participants are required to be fully vaccinated and adhere to the prevailing safe management measures in place. And joining me now is Diana Teo from the Restaurant Association of Singapore. Diana is also co-chairman of Restaurant Asia 2021. Welcome to the show, Diana. Diana, today's trade show is not only the first large-scale F&B event, but also the biggest on-site exhibition yet since the pandemic hit Singapore. What does this signal to you, given that the F&B sector has been so badly hit by the pandemic?
So we're definitely very happy to be able to launch the first F&B trade show and symposium since the onset of COVID-19. It is a significant milestone coming out of 2 years that are very long and challenging for the F&B industry. I believe that the good response we received for the trade show today also signals demand for physical events where we are able to interact and network with one another, of course, all while adhering to the safe distancing measures. I hope that the reopening for the MICE industry will also mean that the F&B sector will continue to see greater reopening in terms of capacity limits and easing of safety management measures.
Diana, it's been a week since 5 fully vaccinated members from the same household can dine in together at F&B outlets. What feedback have you received from your members so far? Have they seen an improvement in their business?
So we are very thankful for the easing of measures to allow 5 fully vaccinated individuals from the same household to dine together. It has helped a little bit, but it still has its limitations, as family members who are not in the same household still cannot dine together, and neither can friends. So as we approach the year-end festivities, the ability to have a meal together is something that we all look forward to, especially during Christmas and New Year. And truly, nothing can replace the bonds that we build while having a meal together. So in the same vein, as the year-end festivities approach, this is an important period for the restaurant sector. So we hope to see the social restrictions ease to allow 8-pax dining for all who are vaccinated and those who are medically excused.
So on that, Diana, the extended stabilization phase is slated to end this Sunday, November 21st. Now, no details yet as to whether current restrictions will be eased for diners not from the same household. What are your members hoping for?
So I believe that, there's a lot more that we can do. A lot has been said about learning to live with COVID and accepting the new normal. So I guess the question in many operators' mind is, what is the new normal for the F&B industry? And we believe that there are 3 things that can be done. Firstly, we respectfully ask that the capacity restrictions for the F&B sector be reviewed. In the short term, I mentioned earlier that we hope dining restrictions will ease to allow 8-pax fully vaccinated to dine together. But in the longer term, perhaps these capacity restrictions can be reviewed to see if it is still relevant amidst the new pilots for larger scale events. For example, it was reported in the news that there will be some upcoming live concert that will allow up to 1,000 people, where the 1 meter safe distancing or 1 seat spacing rule is no longer applied. Additionally, with more VTLs opening up, many Singaporeans are also traveling overseas where safety management, such as those imposed locally, are more relaxed over there. So against this context, we hope to see capacity restrictions continue to ease up and eventually be lifted under the new normal for F&B. And this also leads me to my second point. I believe that as we gradually reopen and roll out booster shots for Singaporeans, it may also be timely to review the 1 meter safe distancing measures when we reach a certain threshold of adoption rate for the booster shots. Many restaurants are still suffering from limited capacity due to this 1 meter rule, while all still paying full rental. So revenues are also capped because of these restrictions, while food and wages continue to rise. So I hope that as take-up for the booster shots increase, we can potentially relook at the necessity of this 1 meter rule. Lastly, we also hope to see restrictions around working arrangements ease up so that employees can return to office. The work from home measures have really hit the F&B businesses in the Central District very hard, and many are now struggling to survive. So as Singapore reopen, we hope to see recovery in this business, in this badly hit area, so businesses in the CBD do not get left behind, and that they too can move forward and emerge stronger from this pandemic.
Well, thank you so much, Diana, for the insights. Diana Teo from the Restaurant Association of Singapore and co-chairman of Restaurant Asia 2021. Singapore is taking a careful step-by-step approach to its reopening to avoid making abrupt U-turns. That's the message from Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, who was speaking to Bloomberg Editor-in-Chief John Micklethwaite at a gala dinner last night as part of the Bloomberg New Economy Forum.
We are trying to reach the end point without paying the high price which many other societies have paid, which got infected before they got vaccinated. Because of our strategy, we have not had the very big outbreaks and that the British or many of the European countries or the Americans have had. And I'm now at a point where I've had most of the population vaccinated, but most of the population is COVID naive. And it turns out that's not enough. And we are having COVID spread in our population. Every day, today there are about 3,000 cases.
Yeah.
Probably times 3, you count those which you didn't see. What I'm trying to do is to ease up a little bit, make sure things stabilize, ease up a bit more, make sure things stabilize again, and ease up a little bit more, and eventually you probably will not be back to status quo ante, but close enough, and without having had to make unsettling U-turns.
Australia has returned about 500,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine to Singapore as part of a sharing arrangement agreed on in August. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the returned doses will be used to support Singapore's ongoing booster vaccination program. Households can collect a bottle of free mouth gargle at 25 Singapore Pools branches island-wide from next Monday, November 22nd. The gargle kills germs that cause sore throat and aims to reduce the spread of illnesses. You can book a date, time and location to collect your bottle by sending hello via WhatsApp to 9099-6600 or at the Stay Prepared website. To collect the gargle, residents must show their SP residential bill or account number and email or WhatsApp confirmation at their selected collection point. A look at Singapore's COVID-19 situation, the Health Ministry said last night that the overall ICU utilisation rate has fallen to 62.6%, down from 63.3% on Tuesday. 112 ICU beds are occupied by COVID-19 patients, with 64 critically ill and intubated and 48 unstable and under close monitoring. Another 157 ICU beds are occupied by those with non-COVID-19 conditions and 161 beds are empty. Now, this comes as Singapore reported 3,474 new infections yesterday, 3,320 in the community, 144 from migrant worker dormitories and 10 imported. The weekly infection growth rate has also been below 1 for 5 straight days at 0.89 yesterday. Away from home cases in South Korea hit a record high as it moves into the first phase of its living with COVID-19 with relaxed restrictions. Authorities reporting 3,292 new cases today. This comes as Singapore's VTL with South Korea kicked off earlier this week on November 15th. Officials expect the rise in cases with many social distancing restrictions lifted earlier this month. More than 78.5% of its people are now fully vaccinated. More COVID-19 curbs being eased in Australia's Victoria State. Now from tonight, its capital city Melbourne will once again see pubs and cafes opening its doors to unlimited patrons. Stadiums can also return to full capacity. Masks will remain mandatory in health facilities, public transport and retail stores. The latest relaxations come as Victoria draws nearer to its 90% vaccination milestone. Also in the news, Colin Schooling, the father of Singapore's Olympic champion Joseph Schooling, has died. The retired businessman had undergone treatment after being diagnosed with liver cancer in June. He was instrumental in helping his son realize his potential to win Olympic gold in the 100 meters butterfly in Rio 5 years ago. Colin Schooling was 73. As international concerns grow for tennis star Peng Shuai, Chinese state broadcaster CGTN has tweeted a letter claiming it was from Peng. In the letter to the WTA, Peng purportedly said, and I quote, "I am not missing, nor am I unsafe. I've just been resting at home and everything is fine." She added that her allegations of sexual assault were not true. The former world doubles #1 has not been heard publicly since 2 weeks ago when she alleged on social media that a former vice premier of China, Zhang Gaoli, had sexually assaulted her. The weekend's almost here, and that means one thing. It's time to check in with my colleagues at Live. First up, another plant-based product has hit the market. Impossible Pork launching across more than 120 restaurant outlets in Singapore. And here to help you work up an appetite is Eunice Quack, our food correspondent. Hey Eunice, I've had Impossible Burger, which was great.
Hi.
So what's different about Impossible Pork?
Obviously this is an alternative instead of what we are familiar with by now, which is the beef. Some of the similar key ingredients that they have would be soya protein. They also contain heme, which is basically Impossible's selling point. It is a molecule that gives the product its meaty look and flavor. Unlike Impossible beef, the pork does not contain potato protein, and it also has a much softer texture to it.
Eunice, I suppose anything's possible when it comes to impossible meat. So what sorts of dishes are restaurants creating using Impossible Pork?
So I love that restaurants have been really creative this time around, even more so compared to when the beef first launched. You get things like Impossible Kueh Pai Tea, there's Ngoh Hiang, there's even Bak Kwa. And some really tasty dishes that I've tried were from Chinese restaurant Tong Lok Signatures. They've done like a take on the Peking duck wrap with a crisp Impossible pork patty. As well as really crunchy Impossible crackers that are kind of like really thin and crisp luncheon meat chips.
Thanks, Eunice. You can read her review of Impossible Pork on the Straits Times website. Now turning our attention to the small screen, and this is one for all of you who love horror. Hellbound is a Korean series about an alternate Earth where supernatural beings emerge to drag humans to hell. That sounds like something I'd enjoy. Journalist Jan Lee has been watching this new K-drama on Netflix. Hey Jan, I'm a fan of horror. I understand it's coming out tomorrow. You've got a little preview. Did you enjoy it?
Yes, immensely. I actually think this might be one. I think this definitely has the potential to be like one of the best K-dramas of the year, and definitely potential to be a really big hit. I think across everywhere. So the director is Yeon Sang-ho, who did Train to Busan. As you know, Train to Busan was a very, very popular zombie film, right? Out of South Korea. So you know the quality is gonna be there. You know, he's done genre films. He's good at this, and like straight up, like the first episode, this isn't really a spoiler because this like happens in immediately, like the first 5 minutes is somebody getting dragged to hell, like somebody getting beaten to death by supernatural beings. And it's so impactful, like the series starts so impactful and it's so horrifying because like it's actually quite I wouldn't say it's graphic in the way that you think it's so much blood and gore, at least so far, not yet for me, but it's graphic in the sense that you really feel like the person is getting hit very badly, and it's so like extraordinary because it's this supernatural beings. They're huge and monstrous looking, coming out of nowhere. And it's also just like a genuinely very interesting story because it under the sci-fi, I wouldn't say sci-fi, under the sort of fantasy wrappings of it, it actually deals with extremely, I think, human problems and very philosophical questions because basically a cult emerges out of the chaos, right? Which is to say, like, because of all this monstrous being pulling people to hell. So a cult that kind of believes that this is divine justice, and then like more and more people buy into it. And then the cult leader is played by Yoo Ah-in, who is like a wonderful actor and like one of my favorite Korean actors ever because he's so good at everything he does. And he's very good here. He's kind of quiet. He's not what you imagine like a charismatic cult leader might be. He's very quiet but very intimidating. And the series really talks about like very difficult to answer questions, like what does it mean to sin? What does it mean to have faith or believe in something? What is the point of religion? Is the legal system enough? And when it's not enough, what do we do, you know? So it's very deep and very dark and very bleak and very, very well acted and very exciting. You will want to keep watching. And Yan, I know for you, it's only 6 episodes. So, you know, like busy people like us, we can just get straight into it, get out, and we're done. So I love it.
Thank you, Jen. You are right. You know, I'm really getting very intrigued now. Looks like my TV binge on the weekend is settled. Well, thank you so much, Jen. Now, those are our top stories for today. For more news and videos, visit straitstimes.com. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the red button below. Once again, I'm Haryanto Diman. Join us tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.